Yeah. Just a smidge.
Yeah.
I don't know, when do people stop trick-or-treating usually? Like,
We
what
do
would be the
get
age?
sort of like here, I think you get teenagers that are like 13, 14.
Yeah, 'cause I
Yeah.
was gonna say I'm like probably like 18 years too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's getting up there. That's where you can just go buy your
Yeah.
own candy
Yeah.
whenever you.
Yeah. But it's here, and so we sort of let them have something.
Yeah, at
We
home.
don't get that many at our door, like
No, really.
maybe 25.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See, my parents they count each year. So at their house they get over 200.
Wow.
Yeah, it's busy, busy.
I mean, it can be quite cold when that's happening here. So,
Yeah, same. Like you
it
get those.
varies
It
from
always
year to
seems like
year.
Halloween.
Yeah.
This year was actually nice, this last one, but it always seems like it snows. That's kind of the worst day of October. Just happens to land on Halloween,
Yeah.
and everyone's mad because they want to wear their costumes, but they don't make a nice thermal layer when they're.
If you want to display the whole costume, they're
Yeah,
not usually made for
kids are
cold
mad because
weather.
they got to wear a winter jacket over their
Yeah.
costume.
Go as a polar bear.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be the best costume.
Yeah,
Maybe not in Churchill. You'd want to be careful.
yeah,
Oh, here comes the bear patrol.
yeah. No kidding. Trank ya.
Coming to get a rubber bullet
Yeah.
in your butt.
Get stuck with a tranquilizer and wake up in bear jail. I guess you could just. I'd probably maybe this year I'll dress up as a Churchill local, so I'll have parka and snow pants and bunny boots on, and I'll be good and toasty. I can.
When Waterton, at one time we had like a local staff person, like a hotel sort of staff person, actually a young fellow, was dressing up in a bear suit and hiding in the bushes,
Oh
which we
man.
thought was like. Eventually, we caught the guy and said, "It's dangerous.
Yeah.
We could end up shooting you with a rubber bullet, which is doesn't is pretty bad for a human." But
Oh yeah.
yeah, so cut it out.
Yeah. Well, and then
Just seize
just.
his costume.
Yeah.
Foolish thing to do when
I
there's
think so. Yeah.
park rangers around with real guns.
Yeah. I know people could overreact, or
Yeah, especially he's
uh,
doing it like
if
at,
he's jumping
at
out
low
at
light at
tourists.
dusk and
Oh,
stuff.
so that's
Yeah,
even worse.
no,
And if he's jumping out to scare people and there happens to be a ranger in the area and then he's trying to protect those, who knows
yeah,
what could happen. Even, yeah, you watch videos of people getting shot with those rubber bullets that like cops and stuff have it, and that's not fun times. And they're dangerous. Like they say if they could hit you in the guts, like in the belly, you can bruise and do some real bad damage to your
yeah.
intestines or stomach or whatever I guess happens to hit.
Bears have been killed by rubber bullets.
Really?
Yeah, like you shoot it too close a range and it penetrates and they get an infection and die or
Oh
something.
yeah.
Yeah,
Ugh.
never happened in my time, but
Yeah, no thanks. Hmm. Another Sea North boat heading out, I'm guessing for head out into the bay probably.
yeah, I see them going around to the other side quite a bit. I guess they see bears over there.
Eskimo Point, usually
Yeah,
that's where they've been hanging, and then also a lot of them head out to Button Bay,
yeah.
and
It's almost always bears on the point there,
yeah.
but for some reason they prefer the Budden side.
I know they don't come in this way too much.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll get lucky. There's more and more showing up, so you never know. I've been now trying to pay attention every time we go by towards Sloop Cove. The beach is just over there. Heather was saying she's been seeing caribou almost every tour she's done. So
oh really?
yeah,
Wow.
the Cape population, they're the ones that hang out here all summer long. They don't really migrate.
Wow.
So we've been down that way quite a
Keep
bit, but
that in mind because I have yet to see a caribou here.
really,
Yeah, I haven't seen a caribou, no.
even this winter.
No,
Oh man, there's
heard about some, but
yeah, this
no.
winter was nuts. The thousands and thousands and thousands of them. Like we were parked on the skidoos and we were in a bubble. Like it was just a wall of caribou around us, and you'd stand on top of the skidoo in
So
some
where was
direction.
this?
Just out in the Barrens, like west of here.
Right.
It went probably maybe 60 to 80 kilometers out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was crazy how many there were. Well, maybe like I mean, it's pretty slow here now. We can cruise up the coast and head that way. Maybe we'll find some whales going up to cockles, or it's tough, like, because we don't get super super close to shore, and the caribou, they kind of blend in with their surroundings a little bit from a distance. Maybe we'll get lucky. We'll keep our eyes out and see if we spot any pods, but we're getting the odd photo coming in. It'd be actually easiest to head that way now while the tide's still going in. So your wife, what's the main thing that she's kind of studying in Wapask?
Well, all kinds of things, but she does a lot of work with water, like water sampling, because it's the main method they use for ecological monitoring.
Oh, just to see if it's a healthy environment,
Yeah,
or
just and also to set up like a long-term standards, like see what's going on over the long term.
oh, okay.
And then they study permafrost to see what's going on with it. And there's a lot of studies of geese
Yeah.
because the geese are sort of a problem.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. The
Yeah.
numbers are kind of getting out of control.
Yeah. Well, like what's happened with geese is like at one time they were actually endangered. And like snow geese, especially what they used to do is their migration was from the Arctic down to the Gulf of Mexico, like around Texas and that, where winter storms kind of kept them at a low level.
Yeah.
Sort of was a sort of, I guess, a fudge on their population. But over time, commercial farming in the mid-central United States leaves a lot of grain on the fields, and the geese
Fatten
don't
out.
go far south anymore. They only have to go to these grain fields and they winter there.
Yeah.
And that's just added to the bloom of the population.
Yeah, they get
Like,
big and
they've
fat.
exploded into the millions.
Yeah,
And they're having an impact all along the Arctic coast.
really, because they don't even years. Over the years, you notice we got some whales following us. You notice more sticking around Calgary and stuff too. They just spend the entire winter there.
Yeah.
I think they got lots of food and.
Well, they're not going to fly somewhere if they don't need to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. So they're a little more hardy. Like when they come here, they've got some more energy reserves, and they can.
But for example, in Wapask, they nest in such abundance, and then snow geese, the way they feed is they poke their beaks right down into the vegetation and pull out the roots. So they decimate an area until it's nothing,
Yeah.
and then their droppings sort of destroy the area after that too. So
Oh,
it doesn't
really?
really vegetate well, and they're just studying that.
Oh, okay. Because
You
I was
know,
wondering.
the long-term effects of snow geese on,
Yeah.
on the ecology seems to be quite drastic.
Because I was wondering about caribou too. Like in the wintertime, that's a difficult time for them. They've got to dig for all their food, so they want to make the most of it. And when you see areas that they've, like a large herd has gone through, they just eat it down to dirt, and then plus their hooves and stuff are chewing everything up pretty good. But I mean, I can't remember the exact numbers, how many hundreds of thousands there are in the Barren Grounds caribou.
Yeah.
But you just think, because when
I
you
don't think
see
it's
them,
any more than there's ever been, though. Like there might have been a lull at one time, but
but I mean, just when
there
you
were high
see the areas they
populations.
roll through, it's just,
Yeah.
it looks like a dozer came and just
Yeah.
like cleared a
Right.
whole area. It's pretty wild. So maybe they just don't pull the roots out as much, but you can see they eat it down as close as they can get to the
Right.
ground
Yeah.
too.
And then of course their hooves have an effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's why they got the hunting seasons for the geese here. Like,
Doesn't make a dent though.
no, I know, eh?
It doesn't.
Well, and a lot of people, even
Yeah.
the Canadian geese and stuff, they say the same thing.
Yeah.
They're they're upping limits, I think, bag limits and things like that, just to try to get the populations under control. We got a group behind us that are heading our way. We'll just
People
idle
don't
down
hunt
a
as
bit.
much as they used to.
No, that's
Like down south.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very common here though. Like it's a way of life here. It's people are doing it to feed themselves and their families, and it's I mean fishing, hunting, all of that. I think it's the good ethical way to go to acquire food. Got a few whales in the area. We had a couple that kind of heading up behind us. It's actually sort of hard to tell right now where they're at. Oh, we can see one heading up behind us. Oh, and one in front of us, cutting under the boat. That herd you were mentioning of the elk in Waterton, is that considered, because that's always like a big topic of conversation, the elk herds, like if they're at healthy numbers or diminishing, and yeah. Hmm. They're a pretty amazing animal. I just think it's nuts when you see the antlers on a moose or a caribou, even like the males, they get huge. The elk, like all that stuff, it's like I think they said. So I took a education course on it, and they were talking about like rams, like sheep, and how big their horns get. They say they can weigh up to like 80 pounds or something. I think the number was, which is wild. Like imagine having anything on your forehead that's 80 pounds. I couldn't imagine. Yeah, and then they're living out in the densest forests ever and running around as if it's nothing. If you ever spook a moose, you know, if you're out in the bush and you scare one, it's gone. Like a large animal like that, they're gone in like a flash. And you see them, yeah, 6 feet wide. They turn their head sideways and just start pinning her. It's nuts. I think the caribou though, they're such cool. The antlers on them are so neat with the big shovels and. Uh, Question about if the belugas are hunted. Yep, they still hunt them. There's actually hunters in the area just recently. I think a week or two ago they were here and they harvested a couple belugas. I think it's mainly the Inuits. I don't know if anybody else is even allowed. I don't know what the rules or regulations are, or if it's just them that are able. And they're mainly after the muktuk, and that's actually very nutritious, I'm told. Same with like narwhals and stuff, where they'll hunt those up north too. It's always the muktuk that they're after. Some actually, I think, do still eat the meat, but it's not as desirable. Meat's something just over the years that we've sort of not, I wouldn't say evolved, but we just started kind of eating more often. It was always organ meat and things like that, and you know the blubber or the fat, because it was way more nutritious or more bioavailability with the nutrition in the food. I'm told muktuk's good. I'd be a little hesitant to taste it though, because I'm told you can get trichinosis, and I'm not interested in that. Yeah. Yeah, so anybody at home that doesn't know what trichinosis is, it's mainly, well, it's a parasite, and it's from, like, you might have heard it in pigs. I think that's part of the reason they banned, like, feeding slop to pigs, because the mice would get in there, and then the pigs would eat the mice and the rats, and they'd get trichinosis from them, and then when we eat it, if you don't cook it to a certain temperature, it won't kill it, and then you end up with parasite, and it's basically with you for life. It's supposed to be very painful in the beginning stages, and after you're medicated, the pain goes away, but you're still stuck with trichinosis forever. You could also get it from bear meat, like we're saying now, beluga whales and things like that. So as long as you cook it, which they don't with the muktuk, they just eat it raw. I don't even think you could cook muktuk if you wanted. You have a big grease fire on your hands. I think the parasite, yeah, yeah, they live on it.
So have you seen any bears in your roamings along these shores?
No, the
No.
closest that I've seen one so far was at the green building behind the port.
Yeah.
So weren't able to see it with the boat, obviously, but I think there's been a couple over in that area. So maybe now we'll get lucky and they'll start
Last
moving
year
down.
I saw bears here on a regular basis, but
Really?
it's the first year that
They're actually shooting cracker shells at the fort a couple days ago.
yeah.
So they had one there, but I think it was on the west side of the fort, so we couldn't see it. And also, I think I was waking up this morning. I was like, "What is that? What the heck is going on?" There's no one using.
Hazing a bear.
Yeah, they're chasing one out of town. Is loud. It took them a while too. They're shooting off quite a few of those shells. That would have been at must have been 6 in the morning at least, 5:30, 6 in the morning. They sure do put in the time. Those guys trying to keep the bears at bay. Yeah, no, I'm excited for when we do get to see one on the boat for the first time. Hopefully it'll be soon.
Like there was a sow and a cub that was around here quite a bit last year.
Oh, really?
Haven't seen any here this year.
I think they had one in the river the other day, I guess, and they chased it off just to the opposite side. I'm not sure where in the river it was, but I was talking to Jeff. He's one of the COs in town, and he was saying they had to push one over to the other side. So I don't know. They're certain it'll just be a matter of getting lucky, I guess, and as more start showing up, then maybe we'll get to see one soon. That's they were feeding on one of the beluga carcasses a little while ago, and that's what it was when the hunters were here. It was what was left over.
Oh, that's
so
what they were doing.
Scored a little meal there.
Yeah.
So yeah, just looking at the shoreline.
So the bears probably wish there was more hunting.
Yeah, they probably like it. Although the hunters take all the stuff that they're probably mostly after too. But this time of year, we're getting to the time where the females will be coming in. If they're pregnant, then they're going to start on their 8 months of basically no eating. If they're heading inland to give birth, so any bonus meal they get's a big deal. And then the males, they'll take anything they can get, but you can tell, I guess, later in the season they start to get pretty agitated, especially if the bay's late to freeze like it was last year. Then they're getting hungry and antsy. They want to make it out on the ice and start hunting. Actually, if you want, I think I have my binoculars. If you wanna, you can do that. Maybe oh, you do have some? Say maybe you'll get lucky there and spot something that we're not seeing. And I'll continue to look for whales. Yeah, keep steady. Oh. Oh yeah, they stabilize themselves. I heard, yeah, I can imagine it. Binos aren't cheap. I can imagine the ones, what'd you call them? The gyroscopic. So yeah, you hold them and they just stabilize the image. Optics aren't cheap, whether you're buying a scope for a rifle or a spotting scope or binoculars. Yeah, it's, if you get the good quality stuff, it's very expensive. Yeah, I was looking up at the ridge there, maybe, or I could see some, looks like birds on the shore over right by those rocks there. Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, she said every day. Heather said almost every day they see them. They do a walk up to Sloop Cove, is where they do their tour. Wow, I can't believe how quiet it is again out here. Pardon? No. Yeah. Even the other day we were out on the flats and the tide was out. It was starting to head back in and I couldn't believe how many whales were out on the river. All we could do is enjoy the scenery and the warm weather and sample some more bugs. They actually have died down a little bit, which is nice. It'd be super hot if it wasn't for the haze from all the smoke. Yeah. Oh, we got one little ways behind us, kind of sort of heading in our way. Veering off a little bit, actually. Haha, yeah. It's a, oh, I was down at the river this year and I looked up, I was trying to get pictures of the otters and I seen one laying on the ice and I was like, oh man, sneak up on that guy. So I went and got my snowshoes and then it is so deep, the snow, they're so hard to get through. And I was stomping through, I kept falling over and I'm trying to save my camera and it's really difficult unless you have something to grab onto to, get yourself back up. And I made my way through the willows. I was going as stealthy as possible, sneaking up. It took me quite a while, and then finally when I got through a gap on the edge of the river, I looked and it was a rock, and I was like, oh man, it took me so long to get back there, and it was a stupid rock sitting in the on the edge of the ice. Like that was right in spring when stuff kind of started to melt. So yeah, that was awesome. I felt a little dumb. Oh man, it's the first time I've seen people out on a sea-doo this summer. I guess this doesn't get much better for taking that out than what we got happening now. It's so hot out and it's glassy water. I've seen a few jet skis and sea-doos parked on trailers all around town, but I've never seen anybody take them out. They probably buy them with good intention, and then when they figure out how cold the water is, maybe not. Oh, we have someone asking about all your locations, wherever you worked over the. You'd mentioned a bunch of spots, but in the past, it sounds like you moved around quite a bit.
I started out working in Banff National Park. Originally, I was working with the Canadian Wildlife Service and did a big biophysical survey there. I mainly did a lot of bird surveys.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was in Jasper for a bit doing that. And then I joined parks and worked in the same places. I worked in Banff for winter. Didn't work in Jasper as a warden, but I worked in Elk Island, but mainly in Waterton Lakes National Park.
Yeah.
In the southwest corner of Alberta, sort of contiguous with Glacier National Park in Montana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does probably gets pretty squirrely in Banff in the summertime, eh? With the amount of people.
It's Jasper. What I like about Waterton, it's a little quieter.
Yeah.
Although this year I was actually reading on some news items that Waterton closed its gates a couple of times this summer because it was at capacity.
Oh, really?
There were so many vehicles on the road that it was practically gridlock in the park.
Really?
Which didn't happen in my time there. So
wow.
It could be that this is Canada's 150th birthday, and national parks have free passes. It's free entry, so that's really boosted
we've had such
visitors.
A nice summer. It's been so hot and stuff. I guess people are getting out more, maybe. Crazy. At capacity.
But both Waterton and Banff are beautiful places. Like the backcountry of Banff is just stupendous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in the backcountry.
I like that area. We do. I haven't done tons in Banff, but like Canmore area, and we go to Moose Mountain in outside of Bragg Creek. We go around there quite a bit. It's nice. That whole area is it's gorgeous in there. I haven't done lots of around Banff though. And what's Jasper like? Is it pretty busy there as well? Like that's a really nice spot too, isn't it?
Well, it's a really big park, and so it's a little quieter than Banff. Like the town's a little quieter, and it's got just stupendous backcountry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like the ice fields, the drive from Banff to Jasper is amazing, from Banff to Lake Louise and then up the Ice Fields Parkway.
Oh, yeah.
Just amazing, yeah. Beautiful
nice
areas.
Scenic drive.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I know a lot of people that go to Jasper. I've never been myself, but I hear good things. Got a few more questions coming in. So in this area, Churchill, there's around, I think the population's around 800 people now, somewhere around there. There's actually like a bear per person.
Yeah.
A polar bear per person.
They say 700 to 800, but
yeah.
I don't know the official number.
Yeah.
I'm not sure anybody does.
No,
it's somewhere around there.
Yeah, so that's pretty crazy to think there's, well, it's a small town and then there's that many bears. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, they're pretty spread around Hudson Bay right now, though. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and there's still this year the ice. There's still you can look online and you can see the where the ice pack is, like where it is in the bay, and there's still some out there. They said this year it was thinner, but